Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Not a good start for me this morning. Press the go live button. Intro wouldn't work. Had to re-upload it. So my apologies for the slight delay in joining you. I do need to tell you this. Mystery Machine. Gary Muirhead checked in this morning at 6:27 and said, "Good morning, everyone. Is the Mystery Machine a Bauma BW145? He's still sticking with the Bauma regardless. It is not. It is not one of those. I'll tell you that much in advance. While we're waiting for a few more people to arrive, have you seen the latest headline from, I think it's Construction Index? Let me throw it up on the screen for you. Doesn't look particularly clear that for some reason. I don't know why that is. But apparently an anonymous whistleblower is alleging large-scale fraud on the HS2 project, surprising absolutely nobody, I would imagine. It's being claimed that two subcontractor suppliers on HS2 are being investigated after evidence was found indicating that a senior works manager had accepted bribes from a supplier in return for extra work on the project. It is also alleged in a letter seen by the Construction Index that another subcontractor has been supplying self-employed CIS workers while charging an inflated PAYE rate and using fraudulent offshore payroll companies to process these bogus payments. Why? Why has? And I'm sure this. I'm not naive. I don't believe that bribery and corruption in the construction demolition industry is anything new, but why is it that we seem to have had a spate of this recently? Are we being more thoroughly investigated? Are we not covering our tracks quite as well as we used to? Or does this point to the fact that just the entire industry is as bent as a 9-bob note, as a bottle of chips, as my dad used to say? Seem to have spent an awful lot of time recently reporting on things related to bribery, corruption, fraud, and that kind of thing. Obviously, there was the Jobs for Pals thing up in Scotland. Obviously, there was the CMA investigation into bribery and corruption and bid rigging and all that kind of thing. Lots of other examples as well. There was the Keltbray guys that were taking bribes to basically work with a particular staff provider or workforce provider. Just lots and lots of examples. Really not great at all. Now let me have a look. Dan Cullen is here as well. I'll tell you what, while I'm doing this, let me press the buttons of the various people. There it is. Dan Cullen is also saying nothing new there. No, sadly there isn't. Chris Ford is here as well. Let me press Chris's button very quickly. That's that one there. Who else do we have? Jim Turner. I think I've already done Jim's, and he is already guessing that the Mystery Machine is a Cat D6. It is not. Mark Whiting is here as well. Let's press Mark's button as well, which is that one. There we are. Good morning to you, Mark, as well. Jim, you weren't here yesterday, as far as I remember. Busy day? No, I'm not prying. I don't expect you to be here, but I just, you were notable by your absence. And obviously, you did miss the dancing girls and the free money, blah, 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 blah. Same thing I say every time. Frank from Diacon Demos just joined us all the way from down under. Bjart Tadton, who's becoming a regular, is over on Instagram as well. Lots and lots of people over there, which is good to see. We do have a lot to get through today. I think I say that every morning, but we do have a lot to get through today. So without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show, such as it is, on the road. It is Thursday, the 15th of May. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition and the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. Good morning to you, one and all. In today's show, we're getting up close with the very latest wheel loader from Kramer. Caterpillar's mining division celebrates its centenary. whole company celebrating its centenary, but this is a mining film. Hang on, stop. Hold the front page. Dark on Demo, our friend Frank down under. Hello, a quick hi to all. It's my birthday, so off to dinner with my family. Many, many, many happy returns to you, Frank. Let me see. I do have access to some things here. There we are. Frank, I don't know if you can see that, but then it's coming all the way from. If you're down under, are we up above? I really don't know, but happy birthday, my friend. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Enjoy it. Going for dinner with your friend, with your family. I thought you Aussies just put shrimps on barbies. Just goes to show how little I know, doesn't it? Yes, going back to what we've got on today's show, we're sticking with mining, this time with Manitou. And in our latest trip back to the Messe Munchen Exhibition Centre, we are going balletic with Bobcat at Bauma. Plus, in Mark's morning monologue, AI mentors, not all mentors, AI mentors on demand. Yeah, it's a bit of a flight of fancy of mine, but I think you'll appreciate it. Going back to the chat, there you are. Dan Cullen also passing on his best wishes to Mr. Diacon himself. Frank, happy birthday. Jim Turner says, why wasn't this work priced in sections? This is HS2. They're scrutinised with section government inspectors for spec. No extras, then there'd be a fixed price for the job and less corruption. Why indeed? Why indeed? Listen, I did enough talking about conspiracy theories yesterday, and I'm not going to be dragged down that path again today. But does the corruption on projects stop at the construction industry, or does it perhaps spill over to those above? Local authorities and ministers, and you think? Yeah. Yes, mystery machine. We do have a mystery machine. Let me very quickly welcome Mr. Ken Hatcher, the sprocket man himself. Morning, Ken. Thank you very much. Oh, that's the wrong button. Don't know why all the buttons are going wrong this morning. Good morning to you, Ken. I will come back to your answer, Chris. I think it's a good one, but I'll and keeping the occupants in place. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But first, we do need to address the mystery machine, which will be along after this. Yeah, mystery machine today. I haven't played around with it at all. I'm just presenting it as it comes. No color change or anything like that. I can tell you it's not a Bauma B12W 2.215, which is what Gary suggested at about 6:30 this morning, and it's not a Cat D6D, which Jim Turner suggested 10 minutes ago. Neither of those things, but here it is in all its glory. We would like you to identify that, if you would be so kind. We are looking for a make and a model. I'll give you a few seconds to have a look at that. Okay, that'll do for that. Let me remind you very quickly of our question of the day, which is this. Yeah, our question of the day today is, well, it kind of has a bit of a demolition feel to it. Imagine you've been given the freedom to demolish any landmark building, not just here in the UK, but anywhere in the world. You can demolish it. We'll come back to Chris Ford in a moment, but ideally you'll demolish it without the residents in place. But go with your imagination. Which building would you choose? Mine would be easy, very very straightforward. The Tottenham Stadium, plain and simple. I know it's new, it's very smart, and I'm sure there are some deeply misguided fools that love it, but the Spurs Stadium, in a heartbeat. I am struck by the irony of possibly demolishing overnight the NFDC headquarters. Imagine demolition folk arriving for work to find that their head office had been demolished. It's just the way my brain works. What have we got from Chris? Chris is saying, when I can find Chris, he's here somewhere. Blimey, it's even further down than I thought. Yeah, Crisford, question of the day. What landmark building would you demolish? The Houses of Parliament, along with some of the occupants. I reckon that would be quite a popular decision. I really do. Now, not that he needed to, but Jim Turner is explaining his absence yesterday. I was busy sorting, getting a price for my water connection, and I'm glad I did because it's going to cost 30 grand plus. But now it's just over five. Hang on a minute. Glasses aren't working. 5,000 quid. So I'm rather chuffed. That is quite a saving. That is quite a saving. Congratulations to you, Jim. Well done, that man. Keep the guesses coming in on our mystery machine, which I'll show you again, and I'll show you a bit more. There you are. There's a little bit more. Any thoughts on that? Make a model, if you would be so kind. And we'll take that away because we are off to see a brand spanking new Kramer wheel loader immediately after this. Yeah, I make no secret of the fact that I do love me a Kramer wheel loader. This is why.
Welcome to the presentation of the Kramer 545 wheel loader. With a standard bucket volume of 0.45 cubic meters, the 545 expands the Kramer product portfolio in the compact wheel loader class up to 2.8 tons. The biggest advantage of the 545 is its low operating weight of approximately 2,600 kilos, which means that it can be easily transported on a standard 3.5-ton car trailer with a standard shovel. This ensures quick and easy relocation between different locations and thus also increases machine utilization. Due to its compact dimensions with a vehicle width of 1.32 meters and a low vehicle height, it is perfect for narrow and low passages. For maximum flexibility, you can choose between two different cabin variants. The standard comfort cab with an overall vehicle height of 2.26 meters for maximum comfort, and the low cab with an overall vehicle height of 2.11 meters for maximum compactness. Thanks to the low boom height with P kinematics, maximum lifting forces and tipping loads are possible. Moving standard paving stone pallets and loading and unloading lorries presents no problems for the 545. The standard quick hitch system from Kramer is installed as standard. The fully hydraulic quick hitch system Smart Attach is available as an option, which guarantees even more safety for the driver, as there is no need to get on and off the machine to couple hydraulic attachments. Costs are also reduced with every coupling process because the attachment change with Smart Attach saves a lot of time. Another major advantage is that even attachments for larger Kramer machines can be coupled. Two motor variants are available for the Kramer 545. A 19 kilowatt motor as standard and an optional 33 kilowatt motor which allows speeds of up to 30 kilometers per hour. For optimum accessibility, there is a wide open bonnet which provides easy access to all important components such as air filter, radiator and oil dipstick. The 545 can be equipped with up to 3 different driving modes: power, eco and constant speed drive. Kramer therefore offers the right drive setting for every application to work comfortably and fuel efficiently. 3 steering modes are also available: all-wheel, front wheel and crab steering, which make the vehicle optimally maneuverable. Optional features include pressure relief of the third control circuit and the high-flow hydraulics to cover higher oil requirements for attachments. Depending on requirements, the machine can be equipped with the optimum tires, be it a narrow construction machine profile or wide tires with a width of 400 millimeters for maximum traction and stability. In brief summary, the 545 is one of the safest, most versatile and efficient wheel loaders in the 2.8 ton class. If you're interested or have any questions, just contact your Kramer sales partner.
Very smart. very quickly, I'm going to say good morning to Gary Muirhead, who's just joined us a little bit late. He is forgiven. He doesn't have to stay behind after class or write lines on why he was late. We forgive tardiness around this place. Crab steering. Have you all driven a machine with crab steering? It's weird, isn't it? It's. I found it really strange to be going diagonally. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's I've spent too long behind the wheel of a car where you turn the wheel and you go left or you go right. You don't go horizontally. Yeah. So yes, let's get back to the mystery machine, which looks like this. Gary, your suggestion that it might be a Bauma 145 was duly noted at 6:30 this morning, and I can tell you it is not one of those. Let's have a look. What do we have here? Komatsu wheel dozer from Jim. It's not one of those. It is not a Baumag BW177D. It's not a Baumag, which I think that is what that is, BW177DH5. It is not one of those. And I think there was another one from Dan as well. There's Chris Ford reckons it could be a New Holland TH6. It's not one of those. Sure, there was another guess from Dan somewhere. It doesn't matter too much because it wasn't right. No, can't see it now. And Mick Norton, we haven't seen Mick for quite some time. Morning, Mick. Good. There you are. Morning, Nick. Mick, back. Welcome back to the fold. And straight into action. He says, Kramer shouldn't be encouraging operators to stay in the cab for quick hitch attachment changes. No device is 100% safe. Where do we stand on that? I thought that was one of the benefits of quick hitches is the fact that you could stay in the cab. Not so much, apparently. Interesting point. Dan Cullen says, yes, crab steering, very, very hands. No idea. So, mystery machine, here we are. There is a little bit more. That's not really giving you anything, is it? So there's a little bit more. Still looking for a make and a model. Keep the guesses coming. We're going to be right back in just a moment. We're going mining to celebrate 100 years of Caterpillar mining immediately after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, as you know, Caterpillar used the Bauma exhibition to mark its 100th birthday. And now its mining division is doing exactly the same thing. Have a look. Crammed a lot into 100 years, didn't they? Absolutely fantastic. Now, Dan Cullen goes back. We're going back to crab steering. Telehandler is great with crab steer on site. I'm sure it is. Yeah, absolutely. Added maneuverability. Mick Norton says, crab steering, great bonus with a forklift when working in confined spaces and when loading tight up to headboards. Indeed, indeed. It is a fantastic invention. It just freaks out my brain. I've got exactly the same thing, and I really struggled with this. I drove a Caterpillar wheel loader once, the stick steer. So rather than having a steering wheel, that's the word I was looking for. Rather than having a steering wheel, it had a joystick. Couldn't get used to it. Couldn't get used to it. Articulated wheel loaders as well. Turn the wheel one way and the machine kind of goes the my brain doesn't compute it. So going back to the mystery machine, here we are. There's the mystery machine. Let me show you a smidgen more. Still looking for a make and a model, if you would be so kind. I don't know why I have to say keep being so kind. You don't have to be kind. Just come up with the right answer. That's all I ask. Keep the guesses coming, if you would. Yeah, we're sticking with the subject of mining, but we're going with Manitou in a moment, immediately after a bit of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
When you think of mining equipment, Manitou is probably not the first name that springs to mind. Maybe it should be.
I'm Cedric Ojoro, driving the growth of Manitou mining business. Meet the MHT 790 Stage 5 mining, powerful, precise and built for safety with drive from the basket option. Perfect for maintenance, ventilation and electrical work, stay in control without climbing and enough. Less fatigue and more efficiency. So operate tire or cylinder clamps remotely from outside the machine. Precision, safety at our fingertips. Work lights, dual deadman safety system, overhead protection, your safety is our priority. See you in action at Bauma, stand F908.
Yeah, very smart, that. Very smart indeed. Still no answer on the mystery machine. Chris Ford has taken a wild swing at it and said the JCB VM115. It is not one of those. Better show you a bit more, hadn't I? There you are. Any thoughts on that? Any more thoughts on that? Keep the guesses coming. Obviously, we filmed, just very quickly. I do love corrective text. Dan Cullen reckons that could be a homage, BW219-5. Obviously, it's Bauma. It's not one of those. You're not a million miles away, though. Keep those guesses coming. Yeah, that we filmed that Manitou at Bauma. We're sticking with Bauma. And immediately after this, we're going musical, highly choreographed with the fine folks at Bobcat. Yeah, if you were watching yesterday, you'll know that I did actually recap the fact that I had three favourite demonstrations at Bauma. You've already seen the Kinsoffer one with Ed Butler and Steve Williamson. We've also brought you a bit of the Wacker one, although we're going to show you more. I think we're working on that in the background as we speak. But today I'm going to show you the other third favourite, and I think they were all equally as good. This is Bobcat getting balletic. Quite a display, right? I know it serves no practical purpose, that idea of being tipped up like that, but I do like it, and it will stop me in my tracks every single time. Be good to show the original old Bobcat promotional footage straight after that. I'll go and dig that out. I'd like to see that. I've been watching that, not that show, obviously they've changed it and improved it over the years, but I've been watching that for 30 plus years. Still enjoy it, much like the Dancing Diggers over at JCB. I can tell you, I've won again. We've had lots and lots of guesses, mainly from Dan Cullen. He originally went with the Bauma BW219-5. It's not the BW211. It's not the 212. It's not the 212D. It's not the 213. It's not a 214. It's none of those things. It is none of those things, and it's also not the case SV212D either. It is, in fact, let me show you. It is one of those. That is the Bauma BW216D. There you are. That's exactly what that is. So I'm going to claim the points on that one. We'll just had Dan Cullen says, "Holy crap! Bauma have a great selection of rollers. They certainly do." It's on the film with the Keller brothers on being interviewed. Is he? There's one of those, is there? Because I obviously interviewed one of the descendants. I've just seen. It's coming too late. I've already declared myself the winner, but Dan Cullen did eventually get the right answer. I'm guessing there was a bit of an issue getting from there to here, but it is what it is. Hey ho. I've got myself another 3 points. It doesn't really make a huge amount of difference to the league standings, I don't think. I think Dan is still in the lead. But let me just write down my 3 points so I can bask in my own glory a bit later on in the day. Let's have a look. What have we got? Oh, yes, we're at the end of the show, aren't we? So this is where I say the following words. That's about it for the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like into my morning monologue, which is about mentorship and AI and various other bits and pieces. And there are several of you that are kind of going to mention in dispatches, only by first name, but you'll see what I mean if you've got time to stick around. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I shall return immediately after this. Remember when you were studying maths at school? The teacher was never satisfied that you got the correct answer without cheating, so they insisted that you show your workings. Well, as a writer, I don't normally do that, often because there are no workings. It's just a flash of inspiration and a bit of furious typing. But today, I'm going to make an exception. The story I'm about to lay before you pulls together several familiar threads: mentorship, driver aids, artificial intelligence, autonomous equipment, and the construction sites of the future. I'm not going to address those factors in alphabetical or chronological order. Instead, I'll explore them as we go along, and I'll do my best to weave them into a single, simple idea. So let's go back. Why are we looking increasingly to autonomous equipment and artificial intelligence in the first place? The answer is simple, yet complex, straightforward, yet nuanced. At heart, the main driver for autonomy is often said to be a growing shortage of skilled and competent workers. As an industry, we've stood idly by while our workforce has aged, and we've done precious little about it. In fact, at the same time we failed to attract sufficient young people to replace those at or near the end of their careers, we encourage some of our most experienced operators toward the exit by removing their grandfather rights. Of course, the industry's push for autonomy isn't solely due to a shortage of skilled operators. Humans are fallible, vulnerable, and therefore unreliable. They expect holidays. They're susceptible to sickness, real or imagined. Some show up drunk, some don't show up at all. Worse still, human decisions are often driven by factors other than logic. Some operators crank the revs up to full throttle because they like the roar of the engine, give no thought to fuel consumption. Some prioritise speed over safety. Some cut corners simply because it's Friday afternoon and the pub is calling to them. Autonomous machines, by contrast, are driven by pure, unassailable logic. They do what they're programmed to do, and they don't deviate. They extract every last ounce of value from their fuel, and they are the perfect custodians of themselves, constantly monitoring for faults and wear. It's an uncomfortable truth, but autonomous machines are faster, more efficient, and more economical than their human counterparts. And they don't get hangovers. So that ultimately is where we're heading. But the journey from fully human to fully autonomous is not a straight line. There will be stop-offs and diversions along the way. And one of those stop-offs is the halfway house of driver aids. At their most basic level, driver aids act as constraints, preventing over-digging or overextending. But now we're seeing the emergence of a new generation of aids that enhance, not restrict, that complement rather than control. A prime example of that is the intelligent machine control built into the new Komatsu PC220 LCI-12. That system introduces auto swing, enabling semi-automatic truck loading. In simple terms, it basically records an operator's dig, boom raise, and dump actions, and then repeats them with virtually no human input at all. Now, keep that record and replicate capability in mind while I take a slight tangent here. Modern machines are bursting with software systems, and those systems open the door to entirely new business models. Bobcat, for example, has floated the idea of paying to unlock additional power capabilities for particularly tough applications. Caterpillar 2 has apparently pre-installed functions in some machines that can be activated through licensing or rental. And this is where I begin to tie together all of these threads: AI, autonomy, and future job sites. And I'm going to put around it a big bow marked mentorship. Now, we already know that Komatsu can replicate a human operator's actions. We know Bobcat and Caterpillar envision a future of software unlocked functionality. So how about this as an idea? Imagine if we could digitally capture the skills of an experienced operator, skills that could then be licensed, rented, or unlocked depending on the task. You could unlock the Gary module for super efficient truck loading. You could unlock the Jim module for precise trenching, or the Dan module for deep drainage, or even the Paul module for high-reach demolition. A fusion of AI and intelligence capture could bridge the skills gap between today's human-led operations and tomorrow's semi or fully automated job sites. We might not have mentors in the traditional sense, but it is possible that the skills of our very best operators could live on in software form. And this could conceivably extend way beyond mentorship. Imagine a rookie operator stepping into the cab of a modern excavator. Instead of spending months shadowing a seasoned veteran, they activate a digital module, maybe the Gary module for efficient truck loading. Instantly, they're guided by AI-driven prompts, replicating the refined techniques of an expert. And that scenario isn't a distant. Let me do that again. That scenario isn't a distant dream. It's an emerging reality with the ability to reshape how we approach training and daily operations in the construction industry. Traditionally, mastering heavy machinery required prolonged apprenticeships, with novices learning through observation and gradual hands-on experience. With the advent of AI and machine learning, new operators could access on-demand training modules that encapsulate the best practices from seasoned professionals. Those modules could offer real-time guidance, allowing learners to practice and internalize optimal techniques from the outset. So at some point in the future, an inexperienced operator might encounter something he or she has never seen before. Instead of thinking to themselves, what would Gary do in this situation? They could press a button and know precisely what Gary would do in that situation. And the integration of AI doesn't stop at initial training. Suppose an operator encounters challenges with trenching stability mid-project. I'm going to do that again because that didn't make any sense. Suppose an operator encounters challenges with trenching stability mid-project. The system can promptly suggest activating the Jim module, providing immediate task-specific guidance. Such micro-learning interventions would enable operators to address issues in real time, minimizing delays and maintaining project momentum. Access to top-tier expertise has traditionally been limited to larger firms with the resources to hire and retain seasoned operators. But they could unlock those skills as needed, ensuring high-quality performance without the overhead of full-time specialists. This democratization would not only enhance the capabilities of individual operators, but also elevate the industry's overall competency, fostering a more competitive and proficient workforce. The flexibility offered by these modules allows for dynamic allocation of skills across various tasks. For instance, an operator might utilize the DAN module for deep drainage in the morning and switch to the Gary module for truck loading in the afternoon. This adaptability could potentially reduce reliance on specialized personnel and enable teams to respond quickly and swiftly to changing project demands. We're currently losing experienced operators far too quickly, and we're attracting newcomers far too slowly. And against that background, we're in serious danger of squandering the knowledge and wisdom of some of our very best before it can be passed on to the next generation. But by harnessing AI technology, those newcomers could still draw upon all that accumulated knowledge long after those industry veterans have hung up their boots. Equipment manufacturers of the world, have that. You can have that one on me. It just occurred to me last night. And I'll tell you the inspiration behind it. There is a thing that you can buy. I can't even remember what it stands for, but if you are video editing, a lot of the videos that you watch, particularly, Fred does it, for example, there is a thing called color correction. So you shoot in kind of a very sort of flat profile. It captures all the colors, but you are then free to tweak those colors. And you can buy packs, software packs for that are called LUTs. I think they're lookup something or other. I'll just check this, bear with it. Lookup table. That's what it stands for. So you can basically take your photograph and you can use a LUT. Now, it might be a LUT that you developed yourself. It might be one you purchased, or it might be one that was actually developed by a photographer or a videographer that you particularly admire. There's a Canadian guy called Pete McKinnon, who takes some of the best photographs I've ever seen. You can buy Pete McKinnon's LUTs. So in other words, you get your photograph, you bung it in your computer, you press a button which says, oh, you want to make this look like a Pete McKinnon photograph, do you? And it applies that. Imagine that, but in our industry, where you go to work and let's use the Gary truckload. I don't know why I chose Gary for truck loading, but so you've got truck loading to do. You could fiddle your way through, and I'm talking about newbie operators, but also, fairly experienced, not bad operators, but not great operators. They could fiddle and faff through, or they could engage Gary mode. Now, in basic terms, it would get things, literally take, as a driver aid, it would take what Gary would do in that situation and apply it. It would position you in the right place. It would insist that the truck that you're loading was in a specific place, and it would also go through all the motions of joystick and button presses and everything else. It would replicate the Gary thing. Alternatively, take that, put the newbie operator on it, put them over in a corner and say, okay, you're going to be truck loading today. Go give yourself an hour with AI Gary, and he'll show you exactly what you need to do, and then you apply your skills therein. That's my feeling. So let's go over to the chat now. I've babbled on for forever, basically. Dan Cullen is out the door. I must go try and get in yesterday's recap. Was fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. We are back doing the recap as well. Maybe a bit late today because I've got to go and pick my daughter up a bit later on. Some human thoughts are over greed. It's going back to the whole thing about corruption. Chris Ford, you could unlock the Chris mode. Let's fuck off home. Maybe you could. Maybe you could. Just need someone to pay me whilst recording it, as I narrate what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and obviously an interpreter too. But imagine that. I know what you're saying, and I know you're doing that slightly tongue in cheek. But imagine, I mean, but let me very, very quickly. I don't know if there is a video available on this as yet. There is this the system on the new PC220 from Komatsu. So basically, imagine you are on a heap, trucked to one side of you. So you go into you know, you're either trenching or you're loading from a pile. Okay, so you dig, press a button, you raise the boom, press a button, you slew, or you move your boom and bucket over to where you need to dump. You press another button, and from that point on, all of those actions are basically replicated. So now you can go into the pile or go into the trench, dig, press a button, and the machine will raise it, slew, dump, back. So effectively, it is replicating what you taught it 5 seconds ago, half an hour ago, 2 days ago. Now imagine that, if you could assemble a crew, and I believe we have some in our midst here. Imagine you could assemble a crew of the very best operators in all the various disciplines. I mean, I've mentioned demolition, truck loading, trenching. You think about all the very individual applications and all of the different machine types as well. Let's have a real telehandler expert explaining telehandler, but recording it all digitally so that can then be A, replicated by the machine, B, replicated by an operator, or C, replicated so that you could use it for training. 3 uses out of one recording session. And all of that, we've all got I say we, you've all got these displays in your cab. You get to site. What we're doing today, we're trenching. Trenching. Let's engage trenching mode. And trenching mode is, I can't actually remember who I said trenching was. Was that Jim? Maybe. So you engage trenching mode, Jim mode, and away you go. And yes, maybe in order to engage that, you're not going to be using it all the time. So maybe you charge a license fee or a rental fee just for a day, a week, a month. And then when you've finished off, you switch off Jim mode. You're not paying for it anymore because you're now doing something completely different. Just imagine. Gary says, just seeing your T-shirt, is the merch store still open? Well, let me just very quickly. It is a Breakfast Show T-shirt. Now, it's a very good question, Gary. I've put this on, and I can't even remember if. Let's have a look. It's so long since I looked at the merch store that I can't actually remember if it's still operational. Let's have a look. It is, It is, and as it stands at the moment, I don't set these things. It is. Let me show you very quickly. Let me throw this up on the screen. Thank you for this, Gary. It gives me an opportunity to do a bit of self-promotion. Where are we? Let me get rid of that and let me show you what the store looks like. I'll share screen, and it is that one there. And just by some bizarre coincidence, and again, this is not planned at all, there is currently 20% off everything. As I say, I don't set these things. That, I think, there is the T-shirt I'm currently wearing. Maybe not exactly that one, but that's the T-shirt I'm currently wearing. But as you can see, there's a whole host of stuff. For those about to wreck, we salute you. The Christmas stuff is still up as well. What else have we got? Let's have a look at the T-shirts. It is T-shirt weather. There you are. T-shirts for the ladies. Loads and loads and loads of these things. What else have we got? Oh, yeah, look, see, lots and lots of stuff, lots of colours, and you can choose the colours. If you look over on the left-hand side there, there's an array of colours there. I'm not going to do an advertising thing here, but there's loads of stuff available. And let me, if I go back a stage further, I will copy that, get rid of that. If you have a look in the chat now, you can see a link to the store. Chris Ford says, pressing a button to load a lorry or a dumper sounds great until the aforementioned vehicle doesn't stop in the same place. It's a good point, but again, bearing in mind how easy this is to do, how many loads are you putting into the back of a tipper? That's a how long is a piece of string question. It rather depends on the size of machine you're operating. But if you are putting in 5, 6, 7 loads, you do it in one position, you do it once, and then from that point on, it will replicate that. Next truck comes along, you do it again, and your first load is entirely you, but the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, possibly seventh is the machine taking the strain. Yes, it would be ideal if you could actually encourage the truck drivers to put the truck exactly where you need them. I think we all know that's not going to happen, but it is very, very easy to do it again and to do it again. You basically just keep overwriting what you've done before. Obviously, you've not worked with dumper drivers. I have not. No, I have not. I will take that. It's not going to work because the start position of the trenches move. Okay, so I take your point. Let's ignore that particular mode because I was talking about the Komatsu PC220 LCI-12. When we were on the Hitachi stand, and we have actually put this up here, there is another system that I think the company it was Hitachi, and I think they've done it with a company called Gravis Robotics. So basically, you can put a machine on site. Let's talk specifically trenching here, because trenching is a very, very repetitive thing. And you can say to the machine, you basically get an iPad and you say, okay, here, machine, this is your site. This is where you are. We want a trench that is 4 foot 5 inches deep. I'm still Imperial. Flat bottom, square sides, all the things. I would like you to keep digging until we tell you to stop. And that thing will dig, get the flat bottom, get the square sides, edge itself back, and then replicate, and then replicate, and then replicate, and then replicate. Now, admittedly, in that instance, all it's doing is digging and dumping beside itself, much as you would do with a trench. But it's not a giant leap to say that you could do that truck loading or whatever it might be. All of the models exist. All of the technology required to make this a reality exist. Some of the things that I've already talked about is already out in the wild. I wish I could remember because I wanted to go back and revisit it. And it was one of you guys that recommended it. There was an American operator who had basically uncovered back, in the deep depths of his control system within a Caterpillar machine, there were modules that weren't actually available to him, but that could be unlocked. I don't even know if they allow you to unlock them yet, but they built this into the back end, obviously with, future proofing in mind. So at some point in the future, and Bobcat have talked openly about this, Bobcats was more specifically related to power. Imagine you've got yourself a compact wheel loader, and day to day, all it's doing is picking up wood chips and dumping them into the back of a tipper or whatever it might be, and it's doing that day in, day out. But then you decide, actually, we needed to do a bit of digging, and it's going to be a bit harder. We need a bit more oomph, need a bit more juice, a bit more power. Go into the setup, choose more power. Bobcat says, okay, show it your credit card or your debit card. There you go. Okay, we've freed up the additional power you need. So day to day, you're running very, very, very controlled fuel consumption. Minimizing your fuel consumption and wear and tear. But for that one application, you need a bit of welly. You can unlock the welly, and you can actually apply it to the job you're on. Jim Turner says, if you're loading lumps of concrete or tarmac, every bucketful is different to dig out the heap and needs placing differently on the lorry. Yeah, listen, as I said in that article or that monologue, there are going to be there are going to be diversions and stop-offs along the way. And I don't believe that autonomous machines will take over entirely at any point. As Chris Ford has just said, you can't beat the Mark I eyeball connected to a long arm extremity for the job. You're absolutely right. And there are jobs, there are applications, there are specific tasks that you wouldn't entrust to a machine. I think demolition, or some demolition, would certainly be one of those. But there are some, and I do think things like truck loading, when we're talking about manageable materials like sand or gravel or predictable materials, not what Jim is describing there, which I think he's got a very valid point. But if you're doing something that is constant replication, truck loading, trenching, loading machines or loading a crusher in a quarry or whatever it might be. So all you're doing is that. Think about port handling, where you're loading or unloading material from a ship. Press a button, replicate what you did before, replicate what you did before, replicate what you did before. And the operator is there basically to oversee it. As I say, I haven't copyrighted the idea. In absolute truth, I'm pretty sure that there are people within Caterpillar, Komatsu, XCMG, Uncle Tom Cobley and all that are way, way, way ahead of me and have already got this nailed down anyway. The bit that interested me was that notion of being able to capture and replicate the knowledge of our very best. The operators that you look at and you think, no, he really is bloody good. He really is very, very good. Imagine being able to build that skill, that expertise, that experience into the machine. You flip on the Jim mode, the Gary mode, and you've got that. Even if it was working as an aid rather than taking over, we're not necessarily autonomous, but actually, as I've already said, you've got systems in place now where you can only go up a certain height because you've got overhead cables. You don't want to dig too deep, so you've got restrictions there. But imagine between those 2 points, you've got a machine learning system that has learned exactly how Jim does a task and will help you to do that task Jim style. I like the idea. I do like the idea. Just taking it a stage further, and I'm not a gamer by any means. I can't remember. I probably not played a video game in probably 10 years, I wouldn't have thought. But there are racing games. Fred still plays games from time to time. And I remember him playing one driving game where, Formula One type of thing. And he is behind the wheel of the car and you're driving around a Formula One circuit, but you can actually engage a mode where it puts on the screen basically a ghost machine, or a ghost car, should I say, and that ghost car follows the perfect racing line. It's tight on the corners, it puts on the power when it needs the power, it brakes when it needs to brake, and you can have that in front of you. And it's always in front of you because it's a better driver than you are. It's modeled on Lewis Hamilton or Verstappen or somebody like that. So you've got a ghost on the screen and you are trying to emulate what it does. You're following its line. You're engaging the brake when you should be engaging the brake. You're hitting the gas when you should be hitting the gas. And you are constantly learning how to defeat that circuit. Imagine that. Imagine that applied to a construction environment. Even going back to, and I know he was saying this tongue in cheek, not that one, where Chris was talking about, eyeball and basically human. Imagine that, for example, let's go back to truck loading. I'm not talking about site dumps, I'm talking about trucks, where you're putting half a dozen, possibly more loads into it. And I don't know how you're supposed to load a truck. Do you start at the front and work back? Do you start at the back, work forward? I don't know. But imagine there is a set routine where you load from behind the cab and you gradually fill up the truck before honking your horn and sending the machine or your truck on its way. and there is basically like a ghost display on your display. Okay, this is how you do it. Bosh, 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 bosh. Honk the horn, away goes the tipper. These unlocking extras is aimed at today's gamer attitude where drip payments are the norm. It won't be popular now, but will gain in popularity over the next 20 years, as that's how the next generation of plant operators have been brainwashed. I don't even think it's necessarily just plant operators and gamers. I really, well, in some ways, unlocking extras. I mean, I love your terminology there, Jim, because it does open up another proof that that's the world that we live in. If I went back, I don't know, off the top of my head, if I went back 20 years, you know, I'd turn on the TV, I'd have BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, or videos or DVDs. I can turn on the TV now, and not only have I got all of those channels, I've got all the Sky channels as well, but I can also, through those payments, you know, those unlocked payments, I can access Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Netflix, and all of those things. So imagine Netflix and Amazon Prime and Apple TV are your operating systems. So you're sat in a CAT machine or a JCB, and what you need is the Netflix. You've decided Netflix does the best provision for trench loading. Click the Netflix button. You now have access to all of those functions. And I know what you're saying, and I do think it will develop over time. And I think you're right. It is a very clever business model, but we're already doing it. I mean, I don't know whether or even if any of you are using Netflix or Apple TV or whatever it might be, but that is already the age that we live in. Even things like this. I don't think I actually pay for any apps, but I have in the past. So there have been certain things that I've wanted to do, and I've paid, I've unlocked the app, and I've used it until I didn't want it anymore, and then I've got rid of it. It doesn't suit what I'm doing now, so I've got rid of it. Imagine being able to unlock specific apps on your machine to allow you to perform certain tasks either better than you do now, or allowing you to do it even though you've never done it before. And then obviously the bit even before that, newbie operator. I've done trenching, I've done a bit of truck loading, but I would like to enhance my skills. Engage Jim mode. Okay, Jim will now take you through precisely how you're supposed to do this. I do need to say this. Edgar Dorado somebody, I can't pronounce the full name, and it's all one word, so but he says buen dia desde Argentina. Buen dia to you, my friend. Buen dia, all the way from Argentina. I'm not sure if you are our first viewer from Argentina, but thank you for joining us. And Lionel Messi, thank you for him too. Just saying. Okay, people, that is an hour, and I do have places to be and people to see. So go and have a good day. Remember, if you can record what you do, I don't have this problem, you see, because what I do is already being recorded, literally as we speak. You know, people will be able to look back at this in years to come and think, don't ever do a live stream like that. Fucking idiot. But with you guys, you know, if you could replicate what you could do, wouldn't that be a fantastic thing? Imagine storing all that you've learned, all the tiny little nuances of the things that you do, and then being able to share that with a newcomer. Jim, Gary, Dan, Ken, Chris, your skills could live on. And Patak, I can't pronounce the name, but hello from Turkey. Hello from Turkey. I speak no, well, I don't speak any Spanish, but I don't speak any Turkish either. But good morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I don't know if you can. I mean, you write perfect English, so fair play to that for that. I don't know what you're getting out of this show, but thank you very much indeed for being here. Not been to Turkey for quite some time, and I'd like it a lot. Particularly the food, I have to say. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. I'll be back tomorrow for the final show of the week, where we'll be talking about something else. I don't know. I'm sure we'll come up with something. Till then, everybody, have a great day. All the best.